We're here this morning to provide an update on the status of the investigation into the homicide of 3-year-old Emiliano Terry. As you know, Emiliano was reported missing on Sunday evening, and his body was found Monday evening in a trash facility. Since that time, his mother, Camelia Terry, was arrested. Here with me today is Deputy Chief Edward Tamba and the Cuyahoga County Medical Examiner, Dr. Gilson. They'll be speaking today about the investigation.
Thanks, Jim. This morning, the Division of Police Homicide Detectives conferred with our City Prosecutor's Office, and charges were issued for one count of aggravated murder against Camelia Terry. She will have her initial appearance tomorrow morning at 8:30 in courtroom 3D, and the judicial process will start from there. We anticipate a grand jury hearing regarding this case in the next couple of weeks, but she has been charged and she will appear tomorrow morning at 8:30. As far as the investigation, yesterday we obtained 2 search warrants. The first search warrant was for the address of 13008 Buckeye, apartment number 9, and we were looking for any type of trace evidence or any type of evidence that would lead us to believe where this incident took place. The other search warrant we obtained for a hair sample or a buccal swab from the suspect, Camelia Terry, and that will be used for DNA comparison. So right now, that is our status. We've executed the 2 search warrants. She's been charged, and we're going to continue on with the processing of some of the evidence that we took out of the house from yesterday. And if anyone has any questions for me,
Chief,
I'll be glad to answer them.
Could you explain for us how this meets the criteria of aggravated murder and possibly a capital case?
Well,
Crime.
it meets the criteria under Ohio Revised Code, Section 2903.01C, which is with prior calculation and design. And but what will happen is it's one single charge right now. When the case is presented to the grand jury, I'm sure there'll be additional charges added on with through the county prosecutor's office.
Tell us how the baby
So-
died, if you would, please, and if you could describe the circumstances of the crime in your estimation, in your evidence.
Okay, exactly how the baby died, I'm going to defer that to Dr. Gilson. He's going to take some questions after. But our challenge is actually locating the crime scene. We don't know where this took place, but obviously we started at the house yesterday, so that's what we're assuming. Right now, we've got during our investigation, we've got some assumptions that we're trying to make. Obviously, she's not speaking with us anymore. So for her to provide us any information of, exactly where this took place, that's up to us to try to figure out if it was at the house or if it was some other location. But right now, we just focused on the location of the house on Buckeye.
You said prior population and design.
Well, that's the way the state code reads.
Okay.
So it wasn't what I would compare it to would be an act of passion, where maybe you do something right at the spur of the moment. So right now, that's just like I said, that's just a singular charge which puts in motion the judicial process. But it will be up to the prosecutor's office to add or to review any other type of specification for the charge when she appears in court.
You
Did she
don't
ever
think
cooperate, Chief?
Pardon me?
Did she ever cooperate?
She spoke, yeah, she was interviewed on Monday night by the FBI. She wasn't interviewed by the homicide unit. We had the initial officers, and along with some of the agents from the FBI, had a rapport with her. Obviously, when this was a missing persons case, as things changed a little bit into the night, turned into a criminal investigation, they had to rapport with her. We were in constant contact with the FBI, and we let them obtain a statement from her. So we're going to be using that statement. But the Division of Police Homicide, we have not spoken to her.
Any admissions at all by her?
Well, I don't really want to say, but she does have an attorney. She has an attorney that allowed her to talk to the FBI. So when we get all that information, like I said, that'll be something we'll have to present in court. So.
Chief, how do you go about trying to find that crime scene then today? What are your detectives going to be doing today to try to find that?
Well, to try to locate it, I think really she's the key to it. You know, Camille, the mother, she's going to be the key to it, and you know, she's not going to be speaking with us. So we're going to definitely reach out to the attorney and see if we can't, you know, through him maybe say, you know, this is where. But you know, if she tells us that, you know, then it's almost like an admission. So it's going to be very difficult. That's all I can tell you. As far as strategies, what we're going to do right now, we're there. We're looking around the house. We're going to look at some other locations that were brought up during the investigation. But right now, we have no other search warrants and no other definitive location to go and actually look for evidence.
Chief,
You
why
don't
do you,
think that house was the crime scene? You don't think her house was the crime scene?
You know what, we believed it was because we went there with the search warrant, but there is no glaring indication that that's where it took place. Without discussing, which I can't discuss, of what we took out of there and exactly how the house was, there's no glaring indication that this is where, you know, this alleged crime took place.
can
So-
you explain the reasoning behind the multiple bags?
Yeah, I'll, let me, Ed, go ahead, but I will, Dave.
One of the things I think we're all trying to grapple with, if you were a little bit, is with the prior calculation and design. There are still a lot of unanswered questions about this. Can you talk about what the police know that leads them to believe there's prior calculation and design if we don't really even know where this happened?
Right, well, it's actually what the prosecutor decides. You know, we present the facts that we have to our prosecutor, and then they decide what that charge is. And as you know, the standard is probable cause. So we have probable cause to arrest, we have probable cause to charge. She will appear in 3D, have her initial hearing, and then she'll be, then there'll be testimony provided in front of the grand jury. And that is just all, you know, she's innocent until the state, we have the burden to prove that she committed this crime. That burden is on us. So it's all probable cause to believe that this took place. Exactly where it took place, we may never find out that answer.
So
So
right now
You
you
don't
don't have
any
anything.
witnesses or anything, or just
not right now, we
told her
don't.
best friend, I'm gonna do this tomorrow. and-
No, right now, we don't. We don't have anybody that came to us. You know, we're in the process of interviewing family members, friends, anybody. This has been, you know, page one news. If anybody has any information about it, we'd like to talk to them about it. But not only because of the age of, you know, the little guy, but a lot of times intimate family assaults, deaths are very, very difficult because there are no witnesses. And that's, we think, what we're dealing with here, so.
If you could
Go ahead.
explain the
Yeah.
multiple bags.
That was, I brought that up, I said that the other day, and actually one of the reporters asked me about it. When I say multiple bags, there was a series of bags that the little guy was in. His body was intact, you know, if that's what we're looking for here, but there was a bag inside of a bag inside of a third bag. So
Actually,
as-
what I was looking for was what the purpose of using multiple bags. Was it a disguise? Was it a way to
You know,
hide the?
yeah, you know, Dave, I have no idea, you know, what reasoning, if she did this, what reasoning there was. Obviously, it would be for, to hide the evidence. I mean, that's what, you know, you throw something out in the garbage, that would be an attempt to hide something. But the scope, if you guys were out there, the scope of that location out there was amazing, and it was just amazing that, you know, he was located in that transfer station, so.
Any better idea of when this happened?
No, that's something I would have to refer to, you know, to the doc, but, no, as far as times, you know, we're pulling videos from the street, we're pulling, you know, any place that we think she was in the neighborhood to see if she was with all three kids. You know, we're asking people if they've seen them, our family members, when was the last time you saw her with Emilio? But no, as far as a definitive last time he was seen alive, no.
Can you tell us what's being done to find a potential accomplice for what's been done and what's being done to prove it was just her?
Well, part of it is her interview, during her interview, which, like I said, I can't get into, but right now, nothing points us in any direction that there is another accomplice. We are gonna talk to family members. We have trace evidence that we want to process, we want to process, which the trace evidence team at the coroner's office will do. They're going to process all the evidence, the bags, for fingerprints, and if we find something that isn't consistent with her, well, then we're going to locate that person or persons, and we're going to talk to them. So basically, that's what's been, that's what we're doing. But right now, we don't have any other accomplice or any reason to believe anybody else was involved at this moment right here today.
Chief, are you guys looking into these social media entries that he allegedly made last week looking for adoptive?
Yes.
parents?
Yeah, we are. We have all that. We have all the, we've got somebody, working that, that angle of it. But yeah, we're familiar with it. We've seen the videos, the songs, the postings, and we've seen, we're very familiar with all that, so.
Chief, why did you need the DNA sample?
Pardon me?
Why did you need the DNA sample?
Well, from her?
I could answer that.
Yeah, I'll let Dr. Gilson answer that.
When you do a identification by DNA, which this unfortunate death, I think is our most appropriate approach, you need something to compare it to. So if you have a suspicion of who an individual is, the child who was found at the landfill, then we would take a specimen from a person, blood relative, who we can match it up to make that comparison. That's why we needed this sample from the mother to make a comparison to confirm our tentative identification.
Dr. Gilson, would you describe the condition of the body when the little boy was found? Would you please describe any defense wounds or describe anything about the body that might indicate a cause of death?
Right now, our cause of death is under active investigation. I really can't talk about those things. The body, as I said yesterday in the email that I released, showed signs of decomposition. I don't want to go into more of our findings until we actually have a final ruling on the case.
Was there anything obvious about the body that pointed to a particular cause of death, in your estimation? A stab wound, a gunshot, anything?
We really have to finish the investigation. That would be premature, and I really wouldn't be doing justice to the investigation to start speculating and offering things like that. It needs a full total. It needs to be done thoroughly, and then we need to make the determination. As soon as we do that, I absolutely will.
Any idea when he died?
As I say, he was decomposing. A lot of factors can influence decomposition, and part of the investigation is really just getting a timeline potentially and trying to sort out some of those factors. So right now, I would say, there's decomposition present, but to give you a specific time or a window of time would really be premature right now.
Not even like 24, 48 hours.
I wouldn't feel comfortable until we know a little bit more about, especially the last days or so of his life.
So, Doctor, you
Doctor, have you actually positively identified the child? Because there was some question yesterday, and I know you took DNA and all that. I mean, can we definitely say?
No, unfortunately, he has not been positively identified. I think, my career sort of spans the rise of DNA, and certainly there were circumstances that in another generation might have let us do an identification. That's not the standard anymore. We have to do something more definitive to make an identification. That's the DNA. We need the, the comparison with a mother and his specimens that we recovered at autopsy to make that a positive identification, and that's really the standard of practice now.
When might that happen? When might you be able to?
I hate to promise because you might know the decomposition process may make those things a little bit more time-consuming. I would hope we would be finished by the end of the week.
Did anybody ask the mother to identify this toddler?
Wouldn't be appropriate in this case because of the decomposition I mentioned.
What I was trying to get at with multiple bags was whether or not it was simply a disguise or a way to get rid of the body, because it creates a certain incubation effect with 5 layers in a closed area. So decomposition might act at a greater rate, maybe 10 or 20% more. Wouldn't you agree?
No.
Okay. So you don't think that she had any plan, there was a plan with the extra bags, or that the body...
I don't honestly know
that the
what
body
was the
was-
purpose of the multiple bags.
All right, so
I
it's
don't want to say.
possible, you just don't know, right?
It's possible what?
It's possible that was part of the plan, you don't know.
I don't know what her intention
Did
was
the
with
bags
that.
create did the bags create more decomposition than, say, if the body was just put in the dumpster without being bagged up, or bagged up more than one time?
Don't know that I could give you an honest answer to that.
Doctor, there have been
It's
some...
temperature is really a big factor in decomposition,
Mhm.
and I don't know that I've really known anything where that kind of enclosure would facilitate more temperature preservation or loss. I just don't know.
There's been some reports that Emiliano was beaten to death. Can you confirm that?
No, I cannot. Until our investigation's over, I can't discuss cause of death, really, because I think that this needs to actually just be thoroughly investigated, done right, and when we have that, I'll make that available as soon as possible.
And there were reports that he died on the 21st, a week before. Can you confirm that?
No.
Well, you know, let me pick up on that for a second. The court records with the charge file says on or about November 21st. So I guess what we're kind of asking the same question is, like, why would they put that in the court records if we didn't have some reason to believe it was on or about the 21st?
Don't know if it was relative to the last time he was seen or not.
That's
It wasn't
what it is.
information we
Last time
provided.
it was seen?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what it is. It's very broad, on or about. So that's, like I said, that's very broad. The charge is very broad. It'll all start to
Focus in a little bit more once we get to the grand jury and we have more evidence to present. So as soon as we have more information, I'm going to be passing it along to Detective Chach, and she'll be glad to update you guys on what's going on. But tomorrow morning at 8:30 will be the first court appearance, and we'll be in court tomorrow.
How did you come up with the date of the 21st as the last time he was seen?
Well, that's through interviews. People said that they think that they saw him on or about that day. It could be a couple days on either side, so just people, family members, people in the neighborhood, yeah, we think we saw him here. So that was just really, it is a court record, but it's actually like I said, it's just a very, very broad date. It's nothing that is going to hinder the investigation once we get into court if we nail it down and it's the 22nd or the 19th or the 18th. It's not. Most of our charging papers say on or about this date. It's unknown, so.
And do you know the last time where he was seen or when he was seen? Can you nail that down to when he
No.
was last in the last?
No, I don't. We don't, so.
Finally, from my end, can you talk about the fact that this is if there's no positive ID on the child, I guess we believe it's him, and we're not exactly sure when he disappeared or where this happened. From an outsider standpoint, that looks like it's a pretty tough case. I mean, what can you talk about the fact that this is strong enough to charge you with murder?
Yeah, that's a good question that I anticipated, and it's probable cause. We have reason to believe that was, the little guy in that bag. We have reason to believe she was with him when something took place. We have enough probable cause. It's not a decision that the police department makes or a police officer makes. It's a decision that prosecutor looks at and applies the law to it. And, that's our standard, is probable cause. So, but I do understand that. I do get that question, and I could see how, it could lead someone to believe, you have all this, nothing's definitive, and then you're charging this woman. But there's definitely enough probable cause to charge her, so.
Can you say anything if she failed a polygraph or she took a polygraph?
No, I can't, so.
Autopsy report, you ready?
Cause of death is probably, the death certificate will be the thing that's ready sooner. I really just have to let investigation play out. As I said yesterday in the email that I sent out, that could be as early as the time we make identification. By the end of the week, it may take longer. I just have to, report. A lot of the report we have to wait. In fact, I would anticipate the final report would take longer just because of ancillary things like toxicology, which in any case, where a child dies or anybody dies is often very relevant to what we get to say in our final interpretation of it.
So, doctor, just to be clear here, the little boy could not be identified by looking at him?
I didn't feel that was an appropriate way to identify him.
But I mean, from a picture,
Visual identification, I think that's what you're talking about,
Right.
wouldn't really have been appropriate in this case.
Why is that, just because of your standards or because of?
Both.
I think that they've pretty much answered everything that they can at this point. We will remain in close contact with the medical examiner's office, and we'll provide updates as they come in. And thank you guys for coming.